so excited, guys. I have Heidi Pavelka up in the house today. Heidi and I were just talking about when we met, which we've decided is about a decade ago. And I was thinking about women who I wanted to bring onto the podcast. Heidi and I had a conversation a couple of months ago talking about her life journey and why I reached out to her. She has been influencing women for a very, very long time. Today, she's going to talk about being a single mom, being in the beauty industry, and what true beauty is versus what society would like you to believe that it is, overcoming abuse, addiction, and a whole bunch of wisdom from this beautiful woman's journey. I love her heart. I know you will too. Heidi, welcome to Discovering W.I.S.E.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to share. Absolutely.
You know, I know you have a whole bunch of stuff to share, and we could probably do a number of interviews, right? Like, how do you get all that in?
We could do chapters.
We could do chapters, but I'm eager to hear what you have to share with our listeners today. Let's dive right in and talk, Heidi, a little bit about what's your current mission at this phase and stage in life?
I would say it's always evolved around women and the survival of women, single mothers, going through relationships. Starting from, I was a young mother at 21 years old. I was married. I was in a bad relationship, bad marriage. So starting from that journey into my adult life as a single mother, it has, the trials and tribulations and the struggles and the things that you go through really teach you so much. And when you're in it, in that moment in time, you feel defeated, you feel deflated, you feel discouraged, you feel like, how am I going to get through this? And just to encourage women is my goal and my mission, that you can overcome. Is it going to be easy? No. Mm-hmm. Are you going to have hard days? Absolutely. But knowing the strength of God within yourself really culminates to what you can become. And it is a journey. It really is. There's things that I've dealt with in my life, from abusive relationships on all gamuts, sexual, physical, emotional, mental, all of the above, that I've had to endure and overcome. And those steps in life, it's not just something that you figure out. It's something that you keep tripping. You keep going over that same hurdle. Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep dating the same type of man? Why do I keep getting into this situation? And that's, a reflection of whether you've really dug into yourself. And, also with being in the modeling industry, it taught me a lot about what beauty is. And I saw so much with women and young girls that were looking at magazines and looking at social media and looking at all of these things that were like, oh, she's beautiful. She looks like this. I want to look like her. I want all of these things. And it's not reality. And so breaking that down to what true beauty is, because you can be beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, if you're full of hate, anger, jealousy, rage, all of that, the beauty doesn't shine. Right.
I love what I'm going to go back a second to something you said, because I think that it's really important for us to latch onto. And that is when you're in the middle of whatever that is. I mean, you just went through like 10 things in one statement, right? But when you're in the middle of it, it's so hard to see the light. It's so hard to believe that there is something better. But then you said, if you keep on going through the same things over and again, it means maybe you haven't done, I'm totally paraphrasing, you haven't done the work on digging into yourself. Can you elaborate on what that looks like? If somebody's listening and they're finding themselves in that space and it's like, why do I keep encountering that same hurdle, like you said? What makes you stop and
Really understanding, let's just go from single mother abusive relationships, not understanding. In my journey, got love and loyalty misconstrued.
mm,
My loyalty was, if I love this way, he'll love me back. If I do this, he'll be happy. If I do that, it's always to suffice them or somebody else to make this perfect image of what a relationship is supposed to be and what truly love is supposed to be. And when you think about that, if you don't love yourself, all of that's going to spew out onto others
mm,
and interfere with your relationships. And when I had to really just push everybody away and everything away and just be still within myself and cry out and pray and get into the spirit and understand that all of this is noise and all of this is hurt, and love does not mean this. I really studied, when you study the word love and then you study the word loyalty, and then what I did was I took all the words in the definition of love and then I studied those words. And
mm.
then I took that and then I studied those words. So really understanding what true love is versus, if I do this, then I will be loved the same way that I love.
Well, it sounds again like, and you said with reference to beauty, right? And let's go there. But you said with reference to beauty, the way that the world would have you believe what beautiful is, and I
Yeah.
think that that same thing applies, right? The way the world causes us to feel or see what love looks like versus the way God says
Yeah.
love should look. Like those
Yeah.
are two entirely different
Yes.
things, oftentimes. Same thing for beauty. So you were about to go down that path.
Yeah.
Why don't you continue?
So with the beauty industry and modeling, I've been a keynote speaker with a lot of organizations, and then also dealing with youth girls from the ages of 12 to 16, because that's the pivotal point in
Mm-hmm.
that age group, and understanding you're either going to go this way or you're going to go that way, depending on how you feel within.
Right.
Going down the road of having people like you because you have a certain attire or clothes or hair or makeup or shoes or whatever that looks like. And so getting together with the girls in those age groups, letting them understand what true beauty is and showing them that those models in the magazine, it's all airbrushed.
Yeah.
It's all Photoshop. It's all of that, and understanding that they don't wake up like that. It's hours of makeup. It's hours of hairstyling. It's hours of fashion and fittings and all of that. And then once you do take a photo, there's photoshopping and airbrushing
Yeah.
and all of those things. And that's something that in that age group, they're looking at magazines thinking,
That's
well,
it.
she looks like this coming out of bed in the
Mhm.
morning. No, she does not.
Right.
Um, so really kind of dialing into that, and then understanding maybe what those girls' hurts and pains and needs and wants are at that age group, because it's pivotal. A quick little story: when I was in Chicago for a modeling competition, we got out of the competition and there were judges from all over the world
Yeah.
that were there. And I was walking out, and it was in like a convention center at a hotel. And I was walking out, and this girl, she was 13 years old, sitting in the corner. Her mother was there, and she was sobbing. 13. And she's like, I need to lose weight. I'm not
Mm.
pretty enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I was just like, stop. And her mom was just like, what do I do? What? And so I
Right.
just came over to her and I just encouraged her and told her that, through at 13 years old, there's so many things that you're going to experience. Even to 18, your body's going
Mm.
to change, your physical appearance is going to change, you're going to blossom, you're all of these things. But we
Well,
get so,
never mind. I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking you're saying that, and I'm like, And then let's talk about middle age.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's another chapter.
That's a whole having babies and then middle age. I don't know.
Yes.
As women, that's a
It's real.
serious issue for us.
Very real.
And you're right. I think that it really does start at a really young age. So if we, and those who are listening, who are mothers who have teenage girls, like our ears should all be perking up and listening to you. So I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go on.
No, you're good. So it's just really digging into themselves, and that's hard to do at that age because there's so many things and hormones that you're experiencing. So really digging into that, because it does reflect on the relationships that you're going to have in the future. It really does. You look at some of the models or the celebrities or the Hollywood stars that are just drop dead gorgeous, but they've been cheated on. They've been lied to. They've been in abusive relationships. So when you really think about that, even if you look like that, it still doesn't matter, because number one, you can't change other people. You can only change your heart, your mind, and what you give to the world. And once you give your love, compassion, empathy, and all of that, and have that come out of you, that's what beauty is.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Heidi, when you think about love and compassion and empathy for others, and that shift for you in your life from where you were to that space, what did it take for you to get there?
Ooh, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of digging in, a lot of conversations, a lot of reading, a lot of praying, because I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I remember times in 2009 when I was losing everything. We were going through a market crash in our industry, and I was literally losing everything. I lost my home, my vehicles. My son had to go live with his father. All of those, I was being depleted. And the only thing I had was God. That's all I had. And when you get into that relationship with God and really pray and get into the spirit and cry, he's hearing you, he's listening to you. And even if he's silent, you're still a child of God, and he's still hearing your story, your needs, your wants. He knows what you need. And it's you digging in to say, I can do this. I can overcome this. This is not who I am. This is not where I should be. I can rise above with God, with support, and with, mentorships.
Sounds like those, I mean, they're affirmations, they're truths, speaking repeatedly to yourself what the truth is, not what's going on, right? But what is true. Speaking of that, is there a, while you're reading, while you're in a space, because I know we all end up we have tough days, right? We have tough days.
Yes.
Is there a verse or an affirmation or a quote or a thing that's like your go-to for Heidi?
There's a couple of quotes that I wrote down. Forget the mistake, learn the lesson. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And people will throw stones at you. Do not throw them back. Collect them all and build your empire.
And what do those mean to you specifically? I love them both, but what do they mean to you? Why are they important to you?
For me, like the forget the mistake, learn the lesson. Me continuously going into abusive relationships and understanding that, okay, I keep doing this. What is it that I need to look at to say, okay, have you not learned that lesson yet? Right. And now I'm to the point where I can, have conversations with people or, through my associates, colleagues, and there's red flags that go up now. Whereas before they were quiet.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, if I did this, then maybe. But now it's like, nope, dated you.
I love that. I love, because what you just said is awareness. I mean, you called it a red flag, but it's awareness.
Yeah.
And just getting to that place of, I love how you express that before they were quiet and now there's a red flag.
Yeah.
I think that many of us, and we all have stuff. I always joke that I am so grateful God does not deliver all of the areas I need to improve in all at one time, because I would just be like,
Yeah.
no. But
We just need sprinkles.
exactly, just little bits at a time, which is why we're constantly growing.
Yes.
But um, growing in awareness and just working on that one thing, like we can't fix everything all at one time. It's not possible. But if it's a relationship that you keep ending up in, whether that's with a man or just with friends or whatever it happens to be, work related, if you keep on ending up in those same situations, you really do have to turn it inward, right? Because the common denominator is not necessarily them, it's us. And we've got to look at it and go, okay, what different decisions? So when that red flag goes up and you go, nope, dated you before, been there, done that before, do you just move on, or how do you?
It's awareness and boundaries. I've really learned boundaries, and I don't feel bad about them. Before, it was always, again, trying to appease a friendship. And, you know, I've had experiences even just in the last year or two where even friendships where it was depleting me, their energy was depleting me, their negativity was depleting me. And finally, I had to say, look, I love you and you are my friend for life, but I need a boundary because I can't absorb all of that. And if you choose to keep making your same mistakes and you're not going to listen, I can't change that for you. I will empathize with you and I understand, but I can't carry that with you.
Yeah, I don't know who said this, but it always sticks in my mind with regard to people that I'm spending time with. And it's the 3-minute, 3-hour, or 3-day people. You know, I want to spend a lot of time with the people who are people that I think, man, I could spend 3 days with these people, right?
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be spending 3 days with people that are 3-minute people, the ones that are negative and, you know, their behaviors, not behavior that you would want to emulate, those types of things. You have to really take a look at where you're investing your time, because there's some serious truth to who you hang out with, who you spend the most amount of time with, you become like.
Yes. And
it doesn't mean we
understanding
don't,
that, kind of flipping it to a point of not being the victim.
right?
And friends or family or associates or colleagues that are always, they're always the victim. They're always the victim, but they're not self-reflecting. And that's something that I look at and say, okay, at some point, you're the victim because of this that you haven't tapped into for yourself. And if you keep going down that road, you're going to continue to be the victim. So for me, I had to rise above and say, no, not today.
Yeah. Not today. I think a lot of us, I have that shirt, not today,
Not
Satan.
today.
Not
Yes.
today. Yeah,
Yes.
you will not win. I
Yes.
love it. So I know you mentioned abuse, you mentioned addiction. When you think about the obstacles that you've had to overcome, and you know, somebody out there listening who again is just in this space where they're trying to get out, or they're trying to overcome, what's your message around overcoming, and maybe a way that you've had to overcome in your journey there?
It's a heavy question. It's deep and it's not easy. And it's the want and the desire. Because there were times through my addiction and through my abuse that I just wanted to be done. I just wanted to give up and I didn't want to go on because I was tired, and you're going to be tired. And if you can overcome that within through God, and that's the only reason that I'm sitting here talking to you right now is because of God. That's it. That's all. There's nothing that one thing that saved me or one thing that I did. It is truly God. And just mentally overcoming is the hardest part, because you have all of the the things in your mind that you keep, that you're complacent when, and you're comfortable with. When you're comfortable with abuse,
Mm,
that's scary. And I was comfortable. I was like, okay, next day we just move on. It is what it is. And then that's it. And that's not okay.
mm-mm.
And if you're comfortable with where you're at in your addiction, or where you're at in your life, your daily life, where it's affecting your life, it was affecting every piece of my life.
Right.
And it's unfortunately getting to the bottom of the barrel and being at your lowest point, that you're going to hit the bottom, and it's not fun. It's not easy. There's times I didn't want to wake up, and that's just being very honest. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, I was tired and I was tired of fighting. But when you have God within your spirit, and you have God within your mind and your heart, you can really just rise above that. And for me, it was self-talk. It was reading books. It was affirmations. It was walking up my stairs, and every step I took, it was saying, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting
Mm,
stronger. I'm getting stronger. And literally just talking to yourself. And still today, throughout, I mean, everyone's always learning and growing. And so that's never going to stop for me.
yeah.
But even when I'm taking a shower, or taking a bath, or cleaning, or dusting, or whatever, I have my YouTube channels on, where I'm listening to motivational speeches. I'm listening
Mm,
to sermons and pastors, and what am I feeling today? I'll put it into YouTube and say, okay, a pastor that you may like listening to, just Google that. And then
right.
whatever, whether it's healing, whether it's motivation, whether it's feeling defeated, all of those things, I constantly have awareness. Like this morning, I knew that we were going to have our talk today. Haven't turned on the TV, played my instrumental music of praise. So just to get that feeling,
Mm,
and creating your atmosphere, that is so big. You have to create an atmosphere.
I love, there's no shortage of information out there for us to be able to tap into. I mean, if you have access to the intranet, you have access to
A
a
lot.
tremendous wealth of positive information that you can put
Yeah.
into your mind and thereby your heart. I mean, it does transform you when you
Yeah.
listen to the good stuff.
Yeah. And it's
Have
and listening to that, and understanding that there's broken pieces inside,
mhm,
and understanding that it may not be them, or a friend, or a relationship, or a family member. It might be you.
right.
So to find ways to heal and mend that broken piece, it can
Mm,
happen. It
yeah.
truly, truly, I'm living proof that it can happen. So that's just really digging into, what do you want? What do you want to overcome?
I love that truth that women need to hear that are listening to this. Your broken pieces can be healed.
Yes.
Whatever you're going through,
Mhm.
those pieces can be put back together again in
Yeah.
your heart, in your life, whatever it is,
Right.
right? There's hope. I
And
love
that, for me, the broken pieces, I looked at that as a negative before.
it.
Like, I'm too broken. I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy. Mm-mm. Those broken pieces are stepping stones. Those broken pieces are a reflection of who I am today. Because if I hadn't gone through all of that, and it was a lot, and I'm going to continue to go through things, because
Yep.
that's just
Life.
life, right? And not feeling defeated because I've been broken in this one area, or because I've
Mm.
gone through this in one area. It's truly stepping stones. Use those broken pieces to level up.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because that sounds a little bit about that lovely S word that I know so many of us deal with reference to life experiences, and it's shame,
Yeah.
right?
Oof.
It's that I don't want to come out there and say, yes, I was a teen mom. Yes, I've been divorced multiple times. Yes, I've dealt with abuse and, whatever it might be in your life that you feel shame around. When you
Yeah.
embrace that, what does that do for you? I mean, how do you let that go?
Hmm. Shame was probably the hardest thing because it was shame with my family, shame with my friends, shame, through my addiction of alcoholism, shame of people know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm concerned about other people that aren't in my atmosphere, aren't in my daily life. I'm worried about what
Right.
someone's going to think, what someone's going to say, how they're going to perceive me. Are they going to judge me? And that for me was the hardest, where I just wanted to stay to myself, be inside and heal, and then I'll be okay. No,
Mm,
you have to truly rise above and understand that what you've accomplished and overcome is something that people struggle with every single
yeah.
day and are trying to figure out, how do you do this? How do you overcome? How do you walk back outside and say, I survived, as opposed to, hiding in your corner and saying, I went through this. You're probably not going to want to, be part of my life, or all of those, that negative self, that talk. That's what you really have to shut out.
Mm. I often, and I've needed to remind myself of this throughout my life. I made a decision a long time ago, and it creeps back in. I mean, I'm not. None of us are perfect. Like I said, we
No.
all have tough days, right? But I
Yeah.
made a decision that I needed to be myself and share my stories, because there were enough people out there. When you know that there are other people out there who are going through the same thing that you've gone through, and that your story may actually help set them free, when you really connect to that and make a decision that your stories matter and they can make a difference in the life of somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
then you become more free to tell them. But the second part of that is just deciding that those who are going to judge you, those who are going to shame you, those who are going to point fingers and, talk behind your back, whatever the case might be, those aren't the people that you really want in your
No,
tribe, do you? I mean,
no, right. And that's where you have to, those are the boundaries, right? That we
mm-hmm.
talked about earlier, the boundaries to say, okay, you can have your opinion. You can
Yep.
stay over there, and you can see me continue to heal, continue to rise, continue to influence, continue to impact, as you're pointing as somebody else is pointing the finger. And for me, that's worthiness. That that really reflects on your self-worth, my self-worth. And that's the part, through the shame, through the hurt and the struggles, that gets chipped away. Your
Mm-hmm.
self-worth really gets chipped away. And now, to where you can help influence and impact and help those rise above, it really brings your self-worth back.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I've always believed, you know what, when you invest, you want to get out of yourself, go
Yeah.
invest in others, right? And
Yeah.
I love that that is one of the effects, is that you grow in the process, you're
Yes.
rebuilt in the process, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What words of encouragement do you have for the someone out there who's struggled with what they're called to, or what they could do associated with that?
Again, it's for me, it has been literally the want. Because
Mm,
when you're in it, and when you're down and out, and when you're having those bad days, and when you feel like you can't give anymore, it's literally the want and the desire of what you want to accomplish, whether that's something very minute, or you want to go speak to the world. I mean,
right.
there's different levels. And for me, it started with coming out of my addiction. It started with going for a 10-minute walk.
Mm,
That was so huge for me. And it may seem little to everybody else, but literally going for a 10-minute walk just those baby steps to keep growing and building. And then it got to 15, and then it got to 20. Now I'm working out 3 days a week with a trainer and got my strength back. I got my, all of that. It's, you're not going to
Incredible.
wake up one day, flip on a switch, and everything's going to be perfect.
Right.
It's, it's building, it's
Mm,
growing, it's, giving to yourself as opposed to giving always to others. And that was my problem, was I always needed to fix it, solve it, resolve this, figure out this problem, and then just giving, giving, giving. And what had allowed me to fall into that addiction was, my son went off to college. I really dealt with empty nest syndrome.
hmm
And that was a reflection of, for 18 years, I've been raising this boy to be a young man, and all of a sudden he's gone.
Right.
Who's Heidi?
Right.
What what do
I'm
I
not
do?
a mom every day, all day
Yes, I
as my
don't have to
primary
make,
focus.
yeah, I'm not making 2 meals a night. I'm not going to football games. I'm not going to track meets. I'm not going to, you know, sessions with their teachers. I'm not going to any of that. Now all of a sudden I have to look in the mirror and say, who's Heidi? And that's where the tipping point for me was, because I didn't know.
Right.
And I was always satisfying everybody else. And, at that time, I just didn't know, what do I do with myself now that my
Right.
son is off to college and starting his own life? That was very painful for me,
Yeah.
because I had known the struggles and the things that we had gone through our journey of, me being a single mom and raising him.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just felt like, poof, it was gone.
And
And I was,
it does feel
oh,
like it happens in an instant,
yes,
doesn't it?
yes,
And you don't even realize that you're doing it in the midst of doing that, you
right,
know?
right.
And then, oh, they're gone.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
wait. And there is a
yeah.
reinvention that needs to take place in our lives when they go away. Like what now?
What are
And
your hobbies? What are your interests? What do you like to do? I didn't know any of that. I didn't have
yeah,
any of those answers. And so mine cultivated around the friends in the business, happy hours constantly. Well, I don't have to make dinner tonight, so let's go to happy hour. Oh,
right,
it's Saturday. Let's all get the girls together and hang out. Like,
right,
it it was like a snowball. And
yeah,
and I didn't even know it was coming. And then all of a sudden it was destructive, very
yeah,
destructive, because I didn't, all of those years of the abusive relationships, on top of being a single mother and the struggles, and the constant fight and the constant push and the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs, you know, I didn't take time to be myself. I was just a giver. And so
yeah.
I was empty at the end of it, and I didn't have anything to fulfill myself.
That's a message that we hear over and over again from women, right? It's that we really need to latch on to that need. It's not a want. It's not a, airy fairy thing. You actually need to take care of you and what it is you need in order to be filled
Yeah.
in a positive way, right? So that when those things do happen, you have those
Hmm.
as part of your habituation on a daily, on a weekly, on a whatever it is basis.
Hmm.
But I think that again, we're taught
Yeah.
that we're supposed to be serving other people and we're supposed to be caring for other people. And I think that you just really hit the nail on the head associated with a lot of, we need to be reteaching
Yeah.
women that starting at a very young age too, not unlike what you talked about around beauty and self-worth and understanding that it's coming from here, not just what's external.
Yeah.
Teaching our young women and older women too
Yeah.
that we've got to take care of ourselves, that we've got to connect with our identity. And it sounds like you finding yours in
Yeah.
God is your saving grace, which I think is
And really
beautiful.
understanding what fulfills you. And that, for me, I never asked myself that question. What brings me joy? What brings me happiness? So here's a quick little analysis that I use often. So we're going to have to visualize for a second. So visualize a cup, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
full cup. And then you have, picture like the McDonald's little mini cups, the little paper cups that they
Sure.
had. Okay. So all your life, you're pouring, you're pouring, you're pouring, you're pouring. Childhood, raising a child, jobs, all of these things you're pouring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're filling everybody else's cup. And at the end of the day, this is empty.
Yeah.
Who's filling this up?
Yep.
Who's pouring into you? And if you don't have those people around you that are pouring back, that's where you need your boundary set. Because if
Mm.
you don't have God, number one, filling you up, and I've told people in the last 2 years, if you're not pouring into me, then that's okay. But I'm putting up a boundary because
Mm-hmm.
I get depleted too. And if you're giving me nothing but negativity and energy and, it's always about you, that doesn't fill me up.
Right.
So find out what fills you up, whether that's walks, whether that's working out, whether that's um, giving yourself a manicure, pedicure. Now that we can't really go
Do
do that now, I don't know. Um, but it's, and we've come to a point of isolation. It's
Mm.
tough.
Yeah.
And so, I do puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought I'd be at my age sitting in my living room doing puzzles at
Hey,
night.
I'm
But it's,
doing puzzles too, so don't knock our
yes,
age now. Come on.
yes. And just, whether that's meditation, whatever that is, you have to give yourself that time
Yeah.
because otherwise your cup will be empty as you're filling everybody else. And then when those people go to live their life, like my son going off to college, I'm
Mm-hmm.
empty.
Yeah.
And then it's so easy for the world to fill that up with all
Yeah.
that bad stuff.
Yeah. No, I love that message. Be careful. Be careful that you are making sure that your cup is filled with positive things
Yeah,
because otherwise the negative things will absolutely
absolutely
find
fill
their
up.
way in. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heidi, is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you'd like to share with those that are listening?
I would just say, we all go through our times and our struggles, and we've talked a lot about them today. But for me, and to give encouragement to others and to other women and young females and those that are growing and experiencing this thing called life, we're going to have the bad days. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
have the days where you just feel defeated and deflated, and you just don't want to keep going on. But everyone that walks this earth has a divine purpose. And that may be big or that may be small. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be you're conquering the world and you're a billionaire and you've done all of these things. If your satisfaction is baking bread for the homeless,
Right?
that's your gift. That is your purpose. Then that's what you do. So finding that true joy and really digging into yourself as opposed to all this noise, because we have a lot of noise. We have the media, we have the news, we have unrest, we have social media, we have all of these things that just talk in
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And just even if it's starting with 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day, just to find space for you and what brings you joy. Everyone has their own quirks on what they like to do, right?
Right.
Everyone's different. And for me, it's really just been self-reflection and understanding that I can put up a boundary
Yeah.
and that's okay. And if they
Yeah.
don't like that, that's
Next.
that's not your problem.
No,
That is
next.
not your problem. So just encouraging to keep moving forward and understand that it's not going to be easy. Things aren't going to be, butterflies and rainbows all the time, but
Yeah.
just understand that through your journey, you're creating stepping stones to reach your divine purpose and your mission.
I love it. Speaking of mission and yours, is what can we do to help you in your mission?
For me, I mean, I'm just been working on a lot of, because my journey, there's a lot of buckets. Right. So me coming together, and unfortunately, COVID has affected that. This year, I'm part of an organization, nonprofit organization called Iron Sharpens Iron. And again, that's mentorships and people of God, where we can actually go out into the field. And we were going to be going to battered women shelters, homeless shelters, prisons, and just speaking. But unfortunately, COVID has stopped that. So that was our goal this year. So for me, I'm just really reflecting on what I can put down on paper for now, and doing things like this, the videos, the messages. We don't have to be sitting in front of one another. Obviously, we're in different states, but we're still having a really meaningful conversation that can impact and lift up others.
Well, so if anybody that's listening would like to have you on as a guest or continue conversation,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yes.
we will put your contact information in the comments when we launch the show. Heidi, thank you so much for sharing with us
Yes. Thank you
today.
for having me. I appreciate you. I love you. And I, am proud of all that you do to impact others, and especially women.